Hey guys, what's up? This is Panzer Dragon, aka Luigi Dragon, and today we'll be going over the top 5 best mid laners for solo queue for patch 4.9. And recently some champions have been nerfed like Kassadin and Soraka, and thus my opinions have changed and there's another champ that's becoming more popular these days, so let's go ahead and let's get started. Alright, so number 5 we do have LeBron. Alright, so again, LeBron is really strong at killing people. She has a lot of zoning potential in her lane, and of course is really good at roaming and picking up kills around the map. Like the amount of CC she can bring to picking off people is a lot, as she does have 2 ethereal chains if needed. And of course a lot of burst damage. And once mid game comes, she has very high mobility to go around the map and pick off people again. And once you get picks, you can get objectives off that, and then just snowball that lead. Of course she's kind of bad at team fighting since it's hard for her to get onto the squishies and one-shot them. She can also PO and just one-shot those tanks in the front line, but I feel like there are other AP champions who have a bigger presence in team fights. And of course she's kind of bad at sieging since she really doesn't have that much poke unless she can find that pick while sieging. And once late game comes, her pick potential becomes less as people do group up more. And once people buy Banshee's Veil, it's kind of hard for her to burst people down. So if you want to play an assassin mid laner, I suggest you play LeBron. And at number 4 we do have Ziggs. Alright, so Ziggs is a really consistent champ. He has high damage poke, which is really good, and a lot of zoning from his minefields, plus the poke. And one thing I hate about him, and of course like about him, is that he can go 0-3 and still come back and be very useful, since he still has wave clear, AoE damage, poke, and if he just finds out that he'll still be useful, and of course, it is really easy for him to farm. And in team fights, he has that AoE wombo combo. All of his skills are AoE damage and are AoE. And if he does get targeted and bursted down in a team fight, he can be like a Martyrdom and throw all his stuff before dying, and so he still gets his AoE damage even when he dies. And like I said before in the last video, he's really good at sieging, poking, and just getting objectives off that. So if you want to play a really consistent champ, I suggest playing Ziggs. Alright, so next up we do have Twisted Fate. So Twisted Fate is becoming a more popularized champ these days, as I think people have forgotten how useful he was, as his kit makes him very versatile and allows him to do a lot of things in the game, such as wave clear, split push, pick off people, and poke people with his card. And I feel that he's a really strong champion at the moment, but I feel like some things are holding him back, like no escape, so he's really easy to camp. In teamfights he only has single target damage, and wildcards will randomly hit other people, but you usually use wildcards on the person you stunned. And if Twisted Fate is behind, he still has utility. He still has that 2-second stun, can pick people off with his ultimate, and can somewhat split push, but is risky. In my opinion, I feel like he's one of the champs who could be considered OP, but I'd feel like you have to use him to his maximum potential. Alright, so number 2 is Nidalee. Alright, so I still think that Nidalee is really OP, just because one spear can take you from 100% to 25%. And if you don't have to sustain to back that poke up, you're going to have to recall, and it's going to be potentially a 4v5 for a while, which means that leads to objectives and other such things on the map. And she does have infinite heals to sustain her team when sieging or kiting back. And she is really hard to chase, since she does have that cougar form, so she's really dominant at disengaging and kiting. And once you get to like late game with Nidalee, it's like basically a free win, and all you have to do is really poke, and once they're down in hit point, you can like start pounding on those towers for free. And like, it's just so hard to deal with her late game, since she does have sustain and the poke to keep sieging, and it's really hard for Nidalee to back down from sieging. And like some cons is that her early game is really weak, you can't really gank for her. She can definitely carry at games by herself, and once she hits level 6 she can roam a bit, as her cougar form does give her mobility, so she can pick up kills if the kills are near her. And so if you want to play a champion that's really good late game, and has a pretty high skill cap to play, and to potentially carry games by poking the enemy, Nidalee is your champion. And at number 1 we do have Kayle. So again, Kayle is really strong right now and sort of OP. Her early game's like decent, it's like average for a mid laner, and then mid game she's like pretty good. And then once like late game comes, she becomes like a super monster. She does like the amount of damage an AD carry does, but maybe a bit more or less, and also has pretty good burst with their Q. And probably the most OP thing about her is the 3-second invulnerability from her ultimate. That can be game changing if the enemy does focus all the damage onto the person you used your ult on. And she does have a heal, which does heal quite a bit. But let's look at it this way, if I see in 3-0 Kayle, the game is like over unless the other lanes are like super feeding or something. As the way I see it, if you try and focus Kayle, she'll just ult herself. And the thing is, you need to focus her since she's the one who's doing a lot of damage and is enormously fed. And even if she isn't fed, she can still protect other people who are fed. And so even if she's behind, she still has that utility to bring for her team. The only thing that she's kind of lacking from her kit is poke. She's not Ziggs, she's not Nidalee, but again, she's like a hyper carry. And so if you want to play a really OP champion, and a champion that doesn't really require a lot of skill, and is a late game hyper carry, Kayle is the way to go. Hey, so thank you for watching my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and comment below. Check out my jungle tier list for patch 4.9. And I actually won't do the other lanes because my opinions on them haven't really changed, since like top and 80 carries haven't been nerfed yet, and only Braum got nerfed, but I think he's still really OP. And so again, I will see you guys next time.